everybody. Welcome back. This is our series on how to build a bulletproof estate plan. Hi, Simone. How are you going?
Hi, Simon. Well, thanks. How are you?
Well, thanks. So for our viewers who haven't watched before, we've got Simone Hargreaves here from the Estate Planning Centre. She's the principal lawyer and director and knows a lot about this field. So we've come to the right place. So today we're going to talk about a very important aspect, and I suppose probably, again, stand to be corrected, but the most well-known aspect of estate planning, which is a will. Is that fair to say, Simone?
Yeah, absolutely. Most people, when they think estate planning, they think a will. I'll often have people saying, so an estate plan, that's a will. Is it anything else? Yeah, it's the most popular of the documents. And often the document people think, I've got to get this bit sorted, and they're not necessarily aware of the power of attorney and the enduring guardian, the other documents.
That's just a good reverse segue to the previous two interviews that we've done. Again, for our viewers who may have missed that, jump on the socials or our website and have a dig around, or contact our client service team, because exactly what Simone just said, quite often there's big gaps in what people think is their estate plan. But today we're going to focus on the big daddy, so to speak, which is the will. So why do people need a will, Simone? Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a will, our estate will pass under laws of intestacy. And what those rules, those laws are, differs from state to state. And very rarely, I'd say almost never, does it look exactly how you'd want it to look. In other words, if we don't go to the effort of setting out what we would have happen with our estate, if we were to pass, if we left it to the law to decide, very rarely does that look exactly how we'd want it to look. So taking agency and working out in the will, who will our decision makers be, who will administer the estate, who our beneficiaries will be, that is, who will benefit from the estate, how they'll benefit from the estate. Are they going to benefit through outright gifts or in a more complex environment, such as a trust environment? We can take agency and settle that down in a legally binding document called a will.
And so what are the main things covered by the will, and what isn't, that maybe people, those sort of false misunderstandings or false notions, what do you see? What are the classic ones in that area, would you say?
Often people will misunderstand a power of attorney with a will. So people will talk about how so-and-so is my attorney, and by that they'll be meaning executor under a will. So a power of attorney can exist up until the point where we die, and after that point in time, it is no longer relevant. It's not a working legal document. Your will kicks in. Okay. And that is, the executor under the will is the person who can make decisions on behalf of your estate going forward. But until that point in time, the power of attorney, if you have one in place, is the relevant document. That's a common misunderstanding.
Good point.
Often a very common misunderstanding we have is how we own our property, whether that's cash in the bank, assets under management, property, real estate. We often don't understand how that impacts how we can pass on our assets. So often we assume, I'm on title with somebody else, and so when I die, my interest in that property will pass under my will if I have a will. Well, that depends on how you own the property on title. Yeah. So often we see misunderstandings around the impact of how what we own has an impact on how it will get to those we would like it to get to after we die.
There's some very important distinctions there, and I guess the takeaway is to make sure you get the right advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everybody's situation can be different, and I guess some case studies or horror stories of how things can go off the rails quickly without a will. If you want to share some of that with us in a general sense.
We've seen some doozies. And I'm mindful, I guess, of confidentiality as I talk through, but just generally, a real doozy I've seen is that misunderstanding as to how I own my property, going about, back in the day, creating a post office will. I guess the equivalent these days would be an online will, punching in the details with great confidence that my understanding of how I own the property will be how the property passes when I die. Shocking story. The worst probably I've seen, a person really fundamentally misunderstanding how they owned the property. It passed under the laws of survivorship when they died, and it was a very significant asset worth a great deal of money. It's the most significant asset they owned. They believed they were leaving it behind under their will, that they drafted themselves to a partner And it couldn't be passed under their will. It passed under laws of survivorship outside of the will. The partner was left nothing, and the relational fallout there was just awful. It just looks like litigation. And for what is the cost of a will ends up being the cost of multiple lawyers, counsel, mediators, and a lot of stress and people very upset with one another.
Yeah, I can imagine. Such a shame, isn't it? And again, like we've said before, it's such an emotional time, and you know, rarely are we thinking rationally at that point. So the more clarity, the more forward thinking, the more you know, I guess understanding and not necessarily buy-in from the family, but buy-in from the person who's writing the will, so that it's all laid out, is just yeah, makes a lot of sense, because for an important document, and it's not something you have to do that often, I would imagine. So it's yeah, it sounds like a no-brainer. And what was the statistic you said? How many Australians don't have a will, roughly?
Yeah, it's sitting around 50% of Australians don't have a will. And what's staggering is, in that statistic of the 50% or so of Australians who do have a will, it's estimated 75% of that 50% that do have a will are not appropriate wills at the time of death. So it's little wonder we see so much litigation in this space. It is by far the fastest growing area of litigation, and has been for a number of years. So there's no shortage of work in that space. It doesn't bring me a great deal of joy, because we reliably see a great deal of money spent fixing things up, and relational fallout is reliably what you will see in litigated matters. So yeah, I'm firmly of the view we can be doing better and being front-footed in this space. Yeah.
No, it is that, isn't it? And you can't put a price on the potential damage to the relationships, the family, and whoever's left behind, etc. And that's what, you know, we see that as well with in our line of work, of course, which is a lot of crossover in areas with what you do. I guess again, the takeaway from this is really to A, make sure you have a will, and B, make sure it's suitable to your circumstances, and get good advice. So on that note, in terms of where people can find you, I'm just going to pull up the website, and then they can, where did it go? Sorry, we had it a second ago. They can get in touch with you or get in touch with us, and certainly don't do the online will kit is also the takeaway, isn't it? So certainly, you know, if people would like to know more, then they can book a free consultation with you. Here's the website. Is that on your screen, Simone? Just checking the tech.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Feel free to reach out, book in a free consult, and
there we go.
And then you'll know what you need and why you need it. Yeah,
perfect. And if anybody needs to get in touch with us, here's our webpage. Hopefully familiar by this stage. You can also book a free call with us up here in the button. So lovely chatting, Simone, as always. Looking forward to exploring a few deeper aspects of some of the you know, the do's and don'ts of building a robust and bulletproof estate plan in future chats.
Absolutely.
So, talk to you
Thanks
soon.
for having me, Simon.
Thank you.
Thanks.